Chad says, Nick, what do you think of marrying a non-virgin woman? Also, when do you think you'll get married? What age? And last question, how many kids do you want? Not marrying a non-virgin woman is a bad idea. Bad idea. Now, look, that may not be in the cards for everybody, but it's a bad idea. And the reason being, it's not some, prejudice. It's not some unrealistic 19th century standard. The reason you get married is to have kids. And if you want to have kids, you should stay together. The purpose of marriage is to stay together forever until you die and then beyond. And if that's the case, you want the marriage to last as long as possible. You want to create conditions under which the marriage would last as long as possible, compatibility, so on. And you look at the rates of divorce as a variable of, or rather as a function of how many sexual partners the woman has had before she gets married. And with, I think after 2 sexual partners, the probability that the marriage fails goes from like 10% to like 30%. That's after 2 sexual partners. So you marry a virgin, there's almost a total and complete chance the marriage works out, does not end in divorce. After 2 premarital sexual partners, that probability drops to 70%. After like 10, it's below half. So, it's just not a good idea. You want to stay married to your wife? There's some easy things you can do to prevent divorce. Marry within your race. Marry a non-virgin. Don't have premarital sex. I mean, it's really in your control. Marry to an extent within your age group. It's not really that difficult. And people say, oh, well, that's judgmental or prejudiced or something. It's about cause and effect. We have goals about what a marriage should look like. There's a reason we get married, and if you want to make sure it's compatible, that it's going to work out, you have to screen a little bit. We have this cult of like, love is love. You have to just marry who you love. No, you're really in love for like a minute. You're in love for a short period of time, and then the relationship evolves, right? It's very easy to fall in love with people. And then it doesn't last, of course. Not that it doesn't last, but that initial in-love affection is not what keeps a marriage together. What keeps a marriage together is shared values, shared goals, general compatibility. And so you might be totally in love with somebody, for 9 months or for 2 years or maybe 5 years. But if you want to build a life together and, there's going to be things that are going to happen, things that'll test it, and there'll be time, and you're not going to feel like, wow, everything's so great every moment of every day for 60 years. You're going to have to be a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more realistic. People don't like to hear that because people are in this cult of like, oh, if I have affection for somebody, nothing should hold me back. Nothing should change my mind. That's the interracial thing. People are like, well, what if you fall in love with somebody outside your race? Well, people are perfectly capable of doing that, right? But if you want the marriage to last, if you want the relationship to work, maybe you got to be a little bit more realistic. Hey, maybe you're the exception. Maybe you're the exception where, it'll work out. Or in the same is true of marrying a non-virgin. Hey, maybe it'll work out for you. Good luck. You're so in love with her. It doesn't matter that she was a whore, growing up. I'm sure that's just arbitrary. Your love is going to beat it all. Well, how do you like your odds, basically? So that's really my opinion. And I'm not saying it's not in the cards for everybody, especially as you get older, for women in particular. Men, if you're not in a great financial position or in a physiognomy position, if you're not looking so hot, if you're not looks maxing, that might not be in the cards. But, that's why generally you should stay away. It's not a never, but it is just understand what you're getting into. It's not equal. Definitely not. When do I think I'll get married? What age? How many kids do I want? Well, that's a little bit off in the future. Nobody can really predict. I don't know. I got to tell you, I really don't know when I'll get married. Probably in the future, because you see, you got to understand, people like me who are social media influencers, people like me who are, real movers and shakers, I have to have time to be an artist. I have to have sufficient time to go into the woods, grow a beard, read lots of books, have a lot of erratic, borderline psychopathic behavior. I got to do that for a little bit of time before I really lay down my roots. And honestly, it scares me to think that if I ever get married, my wife will not be able to have kids. That scares the hell out of me. Or that if I had kids, I would just have daughters. Could you imagine? That scares the hell out of me. I see like Mike Cernovich, and he has 2 daughters. He has another kid on the way. And look, don't get me wrong. You're blessed if you have daughters. Oh, daughters are a blessing. It's so great, and they're great and everything. But I need heirs. I need sons. I need to extend the family empire. You know, I really, to me, that is the core of a man's legacy. And so those are the things that scare me, is that you get married and then there's some complication and then you can't have kids. Or if you do have kids, you have 5 daughters in a row. And then, you know, it's like, if I had 5 daughters, I don't even know what I would do. I don't know what I would do with myself, folks. And look, I know I'd be blessed to have them. They're a gift from God and all that. But geez, oh man, you know, if I had to be playing, you know, what do they do? Playing tea party, and Princess Castle and all that. I don't know. I think I would just put on VR and never take it off. I think I would just put the VR on. I just have some kind of a conveyor belt to put White Castle sliders in front of my face. And I think I would just check out. Daddy, come play with me. Why are you in VR all the time, you know? And I'd just be this disgusting blob. People would come visit me. Nick, what happened? I thought you were going to save the white race. I'd be like, huh? What? I'd be in Minecraft VR, building myself a fortress. No, if I had daughters, I would be blessed to have. I would be so lucky. So I don't know. Probably in the future, once I get financially stable, you know, once I'm able to support myself and a family, then I'll probably look into it. But the thing is, I want to be like 30. People have told me this is not the right way to go, but I want to wait until I'm like 35, 40. See, here's the trade-off. You get married when you're 20, and you marry a 20-year-old girl, or 18, 19, 17, you know, whatever. Minor details, right? Minor details. You marry someone that's 18 when you're 20. And great. It's great. You know, you're both young and beautiful, and you're so in love. You have lots of kids. But then when you're 30, then she's 30. And then when you're 50, she's 50. And now, of course, that's so superficial. But now, let's entertain another thought. You're 35 or 40, and she's 20. Now, let's think about that. Or she's 21. You know, maybe that's a little bit better. Then when you're 60, you know, then she's 30 or something. Now, the only problem with that is then you're an old dad. Then you're like 65 when your kid is like 13, and you know, you try and play catch or something, or you chase them around the yard, and then you have like a heart attack. But with modern medicine, that probably won't even be an issue. You know, once medicine develops, you'll probably be fine into your 60s and 70s. So they might have saved us. They saved the white race, right? So these are the things I think about. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm just joking for the most part, but we'll have to play it by ear.